They said he couldn't be stopped. And for 2 decades, they were right. When NBA legends talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they don't just praise him. They confess a truth that haunted every defender who faced him. He was unstoppable. Not because he was lucky, not because the competition was weak, but because he solved basketball. From the moment he picked up a ball in grade school until he retired as the NBA's all-time leading scorer, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made grown men feel helpless. But what exactly made him impossible to guard? What secrets did he unlock that turned defense into a spectator sport? Let's dive into the testimonies of the legends who tried and failed to stop him. Dominique Wilkins, the human highlight film himself, spent his career flying through the air, dunking on anyone brave enough to challenge him. But when Wilkins talks about Kareem, he doesn't talk about power. He talks about something more dangerous, a unique combination. Kareem stood 7 feet 2 inches tall, towering over nearly everyone in the league. But here's the twist. He didn't move like a giant. He had the balance and nimbleness of a guard. Picture this, a player the size of a skyscraper, stepping and pivoting with the grace of a point guard. That was Kareem. Most 7-footers in that era were stationary pillars. They planted themselves in the paint and used their mass to bully opponents. Kareem broke that mold completely. His center of gravity was impossibly low for someone his height. His coordination was surgical. If a defender matched his height, they couldn't match his speed. If they matched his speed, they gave up 6 to 8 inches of reach. It was a geometric nightmare. Wilkins knew this firsthand because he made a living challenging defenders at the rim. But against Kareem, there was no challenge. There was only inevitability. And then there was the shot. Wilkins called it the unguardable shot, the skyhook. To understand why this label fits, you have to understand the physics. Kareem released the ball at the very top of his jump, with his arm fully extended. When you add his standing height, his arm length, and his vertical leap during the step-out phase, the ball left his hand somewhere between 10 and 11 feet in the air. Think about that for a second. The rim sits at 10 feet. Kareem was shooting from above the basket. The trajectory was nearly parabolic, dropping straight down into the hoop like a raindrop finding a puddle. Standard defense relies on disturbing the shooter's vision or touching the ball during its upward arc. The skyhook negated both. By turning his shoulder and using his off arm as a shield, Kareem created a physical barrier. The defender couldn't even get close to the launching pad. And because the ball was descending from such a height, blocking it would require a defender to reach 12 feet or more into the air. For 99% of the league, that was mathematically impossible. If you love deep dives like this, into basketball history, make sure you're subscribed. Hit that button and drop a comment. Tell me, could anyone in today's NBA guard prime Kareem? Let's keep this conversation going. Robert Parrish played against Kareem more than almost anyone else. As the stoic center for the Boston Celtics dynasty, Parrish knew what it meant to battle giants. But when he talks about Kareem, his tone changes. He calls him the baddest man to play the game. That's not just respect, that's fear wrapped in admiration. Parrish explained something haunting. Against every other elite player he faced, there was always an adjustment he could make. He could deny the ball, push them off their spot, or shade them toward their weak hand. With Kareem, Parrish admitted, there was nothing he could do to alter, change, or redirect him. Nothing. That's a chilling confession from a Hall of Fame defender. It means that guarding Kareem wasn't a dynamic interaction between offense and defense. It was a unilateral execution. Once Kareem initiated his move, the defender became a spectator. The result was predetermined. The numbers back this up. In the 1977 Western Conference semifinals, Parrish was a young center for the Golden State Warriors, tasked with slowing down Kareem. What happened next was a masterclass in dominance. Kareem averaged 37.1 points per game on over 60% shooting. He dropped 40 points in Game 3, then 41 in Game 4, then 45 in Game 5, then 43 in Game 6. 4 straight games with at least 40 points. In Game 7, he only scored 36, but he grabbed 26 rebounds to close out the series. Parrish recalls feeling humbled. He entered the matchup with confidence, only to have it systematically dismantled game after game. The Warriors tried everything. Double teams, fronting the post, denying entry passes. Nothing worked. Kareem scored at will. Parrish later said that no one ever devised a defense that could stop him. The consistency of that production, the relentless efficiency, proved that defensive adjustments were futile. You couldn't scheme Kareem out of the game, and you could only hope to survive. Even over their long careers, including the epic Lakers-Celtics battles of the 1980s, Kareem held a 15-11 playoff record against Parrish. Parrish played on championship teams. He won titles. But individually, the matchup was lopsided. Parrish averaged respectable numbers, 14.8 points and 9 rebounds in those playoff games. But they paled in comparison to Kareem's impact. Parrish is thankful for the experience now, acknowledging that he witnessed a level of mastery that transcended competition. For him, Kareem was the baddest man because he stripped defenders of their professional dignity. Their best efforts meant nothing. Chris Webber offers a different lens. As a power forward who revolutionized his position with passing and finesse, Webber understands offensive versatility. He calls Kareem the anchor of Showtime. That might sound odd at first. Showtime is remembered for Magic Johnson's no-look passes, fast breaks, and high-flying dunks. But Webber argues the dynasty was actually built on Kareem's half-court dominance. When the fast break stalled, when the defense got back, when the pressure mounted in a tied game, the Lakers had the ultimate bailout. Throw it to Kareem. Webber said it perfectly. It wasn't Showtime if it was 30 seconds left in a tied game and the ball went to Kareem. He was the stabilizer. Magic provided the ceiling, Kareem provided the floor. This made the Lakers impossible to defend. Stop the break and face the skyhook. Stop the post and get run out of the gym. Webber also marvels at how Kareem revolutionized the center position with finesse. In an era defined by hard fouls and physical enforcers, Kareem played like a martial artist. He'd let defenders bump him, absorb their aggression, and use their momentum against them. When a defender leaned in to push him off the block, Kareem would yield slightly, creating just enough separation for his step-out move. Then came the high-arcing shot. Webber calls him a menace to defend because of this tactical genius. Kareem didn't rush. He took his time. Most offensive players speed up under pressure. Kareem operated at his own cadence. He'd wait for the defender to commit, wait for the double team to hesitate, wait for the perfect moment. This patience, combined with the toughest shot in basketball, meant the defense could never force him into a mistake. Webber, a high IQ player himself, recognizes this control over tempo as the ultimate mark of offensive mastery. Isaiah Thomas takes it even further. The leader of the Bad Boy Pistons and a student of basketball history, Thomas makes the GOAT argument for Kareem. His case is simple but devastating. No one in the history of all sports dominated their sport as much as Kareem did from grade school all the way through the NBA. That's a massive claim, but Thomas backs it up with the timeline. Let's walk through it. In high school at Power Memorial Academy, Kareem led his team to a 71-game winning streak and a 96-6 overall record. They won 3 straight New York City Catholic championships. The team was later named the #1 high school team of the century. At UCLA, Kareem lost only 2 games in 3 varsity seasons, 88 wins, 2 losses. He won 3 consecutive NCAA championships and was named Most Outstanding Player all 3 times. His dominance was so overwhelming that the NCAA banned the dunk just to slow him down. But here's the thing. Banning the dunk backfired spectacularly. Forced to rely on finesse, Kareem perfected the skyhook. Thomas argues this adaptability, this ability to dominate even when the rules are changed specifically to handicap you, is the ultimate proof of greatness. And then Kareem got to the NBA. 6 MVPs. 6 championships, 19 All-Star appearances, 15 All-NBA selections. He retired as the all-time leading scorer. Thomas points out that this unbroken chain of winning, from childhood to retirement, is unmatched in any sport. Irving faced Kareem in 3 NBA Finals: 1980, 1982, 1983. While Irving finally won a title in '83, he acknowledges that Kareem was the decisive factor that cost him more championships during his prime. The barrier wasn't temporary either. Irving notes that Kareem played for 20-some-odd years, maintaining a level of excellence that forced opponents to reckon with him for 2 full decades. Irving even joked that he asked Kareem to retire because he was getting mad at him for sticking around so long and staying dominant. Kareem recalled Irving saying, "Doc is getting mad at me. He wants me to leave first." That banter reveals a painful truth. The only way to stop Kareem was to wait for him to retire. Beyond the physical dominance, Irving highlights Kareem's leadership. He calls him the ideal teammate and the guy he'd build a franchise around. This speaks to the intellectual consistency Kareem brought. He wasn't volatile. He was a constant. Stopping Kareem required more than 48 minutes of defense. It required outlasting a 20-year siege. Defenders aged out. Coaches got fired. Dynasties crumbled. Yet Kareem remained. Irving admits he was always in Kareem's shadow during their overlapping years. Despite being the face of the league in terms of popularity and style, Irving recognized that the substantive ruler of the era was Kareem. That humility reinforces the central point. Even the greatest players of the time knew Kareem was the ultimate obstacle. Then there's Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq's relationship with Kareem is complicated. It's the clash between overwhelming power and technical perfection, old school versus new school. Shaq recounts a specific incident that perfectly captures how Kareem haunted even the next generation. It was March 6th, 2000, Shaq's birthday. He was playing the Clippers and planned to mentally take the night off, but then he saw Kareem on the opposing bench. Kareem was an assistant coach for the Clippers, and Shaq watched him instructing Clippers center Keith Kloss. Shaq saw Kareem mouthing advice. "You gotta do this, you gotta do that." The sight enraged Shaq. He interpreted it as Kareem claiming he had the code to dismantle Shaq's game. That was the ultimate disrespect in Shaq's mind. The result? Shaq dropped 61 points and grabbed 23 rebounds. It was his career high, the most points ever scored by a player on their birthday. Shaq dismantled the Clippers in a game that became legendary. Now, there's debate about whether Keith Kloss even played in that specific game. Kloss himself claims he was on the bench. But the narrative truth remains. Shaq felt Kareem's presence as a looming judge. He believed Kareem possessed the secrets to stopping him, and that terror motivated one of the greatest performances in NBA history. This reveals something profound. In the minds of his successors, Kareem held the intellectual keys to the game. He was the keeper of arcane post knowledge, a master code that could theoretically stop anyone. Shaq also expresses frustration over the lack of mentorship. He lamented that Kareem was never around and often ignored him. Shaq craved validation and technical instruction from the master, but Kareem felt Shaq didn't need help because he was already dominating by smashing everything. Shaq's father had also discouraged finesse moves, pushing him toward power. This friction highlights why Kareem was impossible to stop in yet another sense. His game was unique. It couldn't be passed down easily because it required a mindset of finesse that was alien to power centers like Shaq. The skyhook died with Kareem because it required surrendering ego, taking a finesse shot instead of a dunk, and the next generation wasn't willing to make that sacrifice. Later in life, Shaq and Kareem reconciled. Shaq acknowledged his ego. Kareem apologized for his aloofness, but the damage was done. Shaq, the most physically dominant force since Wilt Chamberlain, spent his entire career chasing Kareem's ghost, trying to prove he was worthy of the mantle. So why was Kareem impossible to stop? He attacked the game on multiple dimensions. Physically, he combined giant size with wing agility. Technically, he mastered a shot that exploited physics. The ball released from 10 to 11 feet, creating a trajectory defenders couldn't reach. Mentally, he broke defenders by removing their agency. Parrish said it best. There was nothing to alter, change, or redirect. Temporally, he dominated for 2 decades, outlasting rivals. Historically, he arrived with a winning resume that intimidated opponents. And psychologically, he haunted his successors as a standard of perfection. Yes, the skyhook was blocked on rare occasions. Wilt Chamberlain famously got it twice in the 1972 Western Conference Finals. Artis Gilmore, Ralph Sampson, and Hakeem Olajuwon also recorded successful blocks, but these are statistical outliers that prove the rule. They required perfect timing, extraordinary length, and often a fatigued Kareem. The fact that historians can list the specific individuals who blocked the shot proves how incredibly rare it was. It was the exception that proved the rule of inevitability. For 99% of the league, the shot was truly immutable. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't just dominate basketball, he completely solved it. He found the cheat codes written deep into the fabric of the game itself and exploited them relentlessly for 2 full decades. Defenders couldn't match his unique size and speed simultaneously. Coaches couldn't scheme him out of games. Rules committees tried banning the dunk and only made him stronger and better. Rivals tried waiting him out patiently and retired before he did. Successors tried desperately learning from him carefully and found his style impossible to replicate. So here's my take. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the most unstoppable player in NBA history because he removed the concept of competition from the equation. When he caught the ball in the post and initiated the skyhook sequence, it wasn't a battle anymore, it was a formality. Robert Parrish, a Hall of Fame defender, admitted he had zero ability to change the outcome. Dominique Wilkins, one of the most explosive athletes ever, called the shot unguardable. Chris Webber marveled at the finesse that turned defense into offense. Isaiah Thomas built the GOAT case on an unbroken chain of dominance. Julius Erving waited 20 years for Kareem to retire. And Shaquille O'Neal, the most physically dominant center of his generation, spent his career haunted by Kareem's shadow. In a sport built on interaction and reaction, Kareem played a solo game. He was the unsolvable cipher, the player who proved that sometimes greatness isn't about being better than your opponent. It's about operating on a plane they can't even access. That's what made him impossible to stop. Before you go, I want to hear from you. After hearing all these legends talk about Kareem, do you think anyone in today's NBA could have guarded him? Could a prime Dwight Howard have disrupted the skyhook? Could Giannis's length have made a difference? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into basketball history, make sure you're subscribed. We've got plenty more legends to talk about. I'll catch you in the next one. I'll catch you in the next one. I'll catch you in the next